Bill Camp is in the Queen's Gambit. I'm Matt Noble from Gold Derby, and I wanted to ask you, Bill, if Mr. Shaibel was a chess piece, which chess piece do you think he would be?
He would be a knight.
Why do you think a knight?
um, because he's in this story, in this particular story. I think he leads the way for Beth. You know, he opens for her, and often in the knight is usually maybe the second piece moved.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know,
very
and
good.
many openings, right?
Yes.
So I always it's also my personal favorite piece on the board. I couldn't really explain exactly why and what the psychology of that is, but I think I don't know. I think he would be the knight.
Mm. And what, like, for you, what was sort of the most important scene for Mr. Shaibel in the series?
I can't say one is more important than the other, Matt.
Mm.
I think that would I wouldn't be honest if I said that this was the most important scene or what. There are so many different factors that go into how to make a scene, right? And how to complete it. So if I was looking at it dramaturgically, right?
Mm.
Uh I would say it would be the first scene when he invites her to the table, right?
Yeah.
So that's the beginning.
Mm.
Nothing happens without the beginning. So I think her steadfastness allows him, and persistence allows him to invite her to the table.
Mm.
And that's the beginning of that relationship where
Yeah.
they have then their debates in silence, if you will, on the board. And he slowly, unlocks this ability within her that she has no idea about, that he recognizes very quickly,
Mm.
which is what makes him such a great teacher.
Yeah. How would you sort of describe their relationship of Beth and Mr. Shaibel?
I would say just that, a trusted student teacher relationship,
Mm.
and it never goes really any further,
Mm.
and it's an unconditional relationship,
Mm.
which is I think part of the beauty of it, and that there's there's that special trust that exists between a teacher when that happens. When a teacher unlocks something within a student who has no idea that they even possess a certain ability, or a facility, or an understanding that they're not even conscious of something which very few people may or may have. And I think his also compassion for her, as somebody who's within this place of confinement and limitation and lack of attention. Um, I think that between the two of them, um, the friendship that happens, which is kind of unspoken, and never really declared, they both pay attention to each other, and that's important.
Mm. Yeah, they're both very much outsiders, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we have no idea what that guy's story is, do we?
Yeah.
So it's an absolute
Yeah.
mystery. So, so really, which is fabulous because it's all left to the observer's imagination, right? Which is as it should be, I think, a lot, and it makes it more rich, for the audience participant.
Mm.
We know a little bit more about her,
Mm.
but yeah, they're definitely people who keep it quite simple in terms of, one, their level of communication, to how much they actually wear in their sleeve. You know, there's a real containment within them.
Mm,
Um, she shows her, you know, her again persistence and sort of ferocity of wanting to get what she wants,
mm,
as she makes her way there. And I think he really admires that, and maybe he sees something in himself there.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. They're outsiders to an extent, except maybe, well, probably even with each other. You know, I don't
Mm.
think they even we never see them ask each other any personal
No.
questions, right?
No. What did you imagine anything about your character and what his life might be outside of
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
room? Yeah.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I have a kind of wild, vivid imagination,
Oh, nice.
and I mean that's part of what I love about what I do, you know, and why I'm so fortunate to do what I do. And and a story like this where not everything is revealed, um, I love it. You know, it makes it more the challenge for me, but it also provides a certain kind of personal richness in my own mind. So
Mm.
yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to share it with
Oh no, Bill.
you though. No,
Oh.
really, you know, it would be kind of irrelevant at this point. There were things that Scott and I discussed,
Mm.
you know, he and I, but even so, that was really limited, Matt. That was, you know, it was sort of like, and none of it was really determined as like written in stone, or you know, he wasn't adamant about, you know, this being part of Scheibel's history and we need to have this part of that. He said, I have an idea maybe of this is what the funeral looks like, but as a sort of clue maybe about his past,
Mm.
something that happened at the funeral. But you know, they're just ideas, they're just things that I get to think about and sort of mix into, you know, whatever I'm nurturing as a
Yeah.
caricature.
Yeah, you talked about how like little is said often in the communication between Beth and your character, and like I thought that like it was quite interesting. Half of the time he's doesn't even answer her questions. He just like either lets the chessboard do the talking or just sort of walks away and says, "Okay, we're done now." But he does have that moment where like he says sort of, boy, I'll tell you the truth of it, child, you're astounding. And he's sort of like you know, I guess wants to let her know
I
how
think it's
special she is.
astonishing. I think he says she's
Astonishing. Sorry.
astonishing.
Sorry, but well, I think
Yeah.
you would know, Bill.
Well, it was such a beautiful, but I
Mm,
mean, you're right to bring it up because it is a little glimmer of his, I don't know what, humanity, if you will, right? You, he this this articulation of what he really sees in her
mm,
after you know, he's able to verbalize it, and asks her a question, you know,
mm.
as opposed to the questions, you know, coming to him, and that personal thing. So I guess what was your question about that
I,
particular line?
Yeah, I guess my question about that line was going to be it's so sort of when you play a character that's so silent a lot of the time, and even like um, I don't know, obtuse or dismissive in some ways, at least in his communicative style. Like, what do you think's more powerful? Those lines when he finally does say something, or is there more power in the silences?
Wow, really interesting question. Um, I personally
Mm,
am very interested in silence. I'm interested in the quietness, and the economy of words, right, or the use of words. Um, so, but they work hand in hand. You know, you can't really get the payoff of either one if you don't have the other.
mm,
So there is a sort of symbiosis between those two things, right?
mm,
So if Scott had not written this character, um, from Walter's book, right? with such economy and such little use of words in his, in his interaction with Beth or anybody, then that line wouldn't have had the sort of resonance that it does when he finally shows this expresses this feeling, you know.
Mm.
And I think also it must be something that he knows, I think, saying this to her and what it would mean to her to hear it, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm.
and knowing that's the first time I think we've heard in the story. I can't remember, and it is quite early still though, but
Mm.
it's such a positive, it's such an uplifting sort of affirmation of her and her, her ability, but also her potential and the possibilities that lie in front of her,
Mm.
as opposed to, we think she's condemned to this life of sadness and and malevolence maybe, and people working on her and the machinations that happen within orphanages and in the world, and she's just going to be vulnerable and sort of victimized. But uh he expresses this really powerful thing to her. I think he knows that. I think he knows, and that was something that clearly I believed was, he kept it simple himself in his life. That was how he operated. We don't see him talking to anybody in the
No.
orphanage. We see him talking to the guy who comes
Mm.
from his chess club,
Yeah.
but even then there's not a lot of conversation. It's mostly, with the eyes.
Yeah. Can you think of a moment of silence of your character where a lot was sort of said?
There's a moment, I mean, there were he tried, yeah, I can think of
Mm.
a few of them.
Mm.
um I don't know if it was something that I was saying necessarily to her. She looked back at him. It was in that interaction when she's playing the guy from the chess club, right? From his chess club. And Scheibel sort of stands back and is leaning up against his table and observing. And there's in that, observation and silence that he's, within, that there's a kind of uh boy, I hope she lives up to what I think. I hope she doesn't. That's what I was feeling. And then there's a softness that comes through in a moment where she looks back at him after the guy gives the doll to her, which is very awkward because she's not interested in dolls and things like that. And she doesn't know what to do with this gift. And Scheibel sort of, you know, looks at her and it's like, yeah, you got to take it, without having to say, hey, isn't that a great gift? Whoa, take it. He just sort of communicates. For me, it was a very, it was a level of communication that was happening between Beth and Scheibel with no words. That that was really rich, at least for me.
Mm.
Um, and then of course there are moments where he's just he's very serious.
Yeah.
And is watching her play and thinking, don't make that move, or
Mm. The- yeah.
and little moments, like the little moment before when he has the coin and he says,
Mm.
we're not
Yes.
really sure which side you're gonna what lies ahead of you.
Mm. Yeah. What was I going to say? I was thinking when I asked about the silent question, that doll scene, because that is a very
Oh, were
loud,
you? Great.
yeah, that is a very loud silent moment.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but it was really fun to play.
Yeah.
I can remember, just really enjoying
Mm.
that moment and wanting to do it like like a number of different ways.
Yeah.
I think we did it maybe in two or something,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, this would be fun to really explore in terms of
Yeah.
how that goes, but I would have
Yeah.
embellished it and made it terrible.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was it was like I know just play along. Like just take uh I thought what was very interesting, and particularly we see this in the last episode of the series, is that sort of Mr. Scheibel sets her up for her openings, teaches her sort of stuff to go on her journey, and then he observes Beth from afar. And sort of he's been following her along the series as she accomplishes various things in chess, but we don't see you and we don't see him throughout that time. What was that like for you as an actor to sort of be so prominent in the first couple of episodes of the series and then sort of more as an outsider follow Beth along on this journey?
Um, uh, I I was only playing just the very beginning,
Yeah.
so I didn't know what would be happening, right?
Mm,
So none of that could be in my mind, but
mm,
uh, it was, I saw them making the board that she comes back and sees when she comes to his funeral, and she goes down to the basement and where it all started, and the board is revealed to her and she sees it. I saw them making that board in the next room from the prison basement we were shooting in East Berlin. And so all of that was, revealed and sort of in my mind. But uh it was it just helped, Matt. It just helped with, just aided me in what I was, asked to be doing for those, you know, those first 1.5 episodes or such.
mm,
And then I had no idea he would be coming back in flashbacks. I didn't know that he would have a level of some presence,
mm,
throughout that time. But uh, it was a help to know that, he still paid attention, and that he never got, any attention back from her after she split. But that was okay.
mm,
That didn't, that didn't, that that was fine with me. That made a lot
mm,
of sense to me.
mm.
And
Like,
that he didn't actively pursue her
mm,
either, or look
mm,
for some sort of credit or
mm.
anything like that. So
Which is like really the mark of a great teacher. It's
yeah,
about it.
absolutely.
They want to see their students do well. It's not about them. Like, yeah,
Absolutely. That's sort of the essence of, really good teachers.
mm, yeah.
Yeah, I
What what
agree.
what was it like for you as you watched the episodes that you weren't in and you got to see how the story played out? A bit sort of like Mr. Scheibel, who got to just read the newspaper clippings as they came in about Beth.
Right. It was really exciting. Elizabeth and I, my wife, uh, we watched it like faster than I think we've ever watched anything.
Yeah.
And granted, it was over, what was it, the fall of the pandemic uh, period, early, first 6 months or whenever that was. So we had more time than
Mm,
usual,
mm,
but um, we were like so engaged and so leaned into the whole thing,
mm,
all of it. And like I said, it's really rare for the two of us to sit and binge watch something like that and complete
mm,
it all. And um, we did just that. It was really exciting. It was cool. I mean,
mm,
it was sort of a unique experience for me,
mm, mm,
in the world of watching, because I had a relationship to it
mm,
that was sort of
mm.
singular.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was loved it because Scott's brilliant. Steven's brilliant. It was
Yeah.
just everybody's so brilliant in it that
Yeah.
we ate it up.
How did you feel when you saw the scene where she looks at the photo in the final episode? Because that was such a powerful moment, like for me.
I was really moved.
Yeah.
Um, I was so already, so so in the world of what Anya had created, and so I couldn't help but be. I mean, then it wasn't a personal thing for me at that time. I was just involved in the story.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
you know, she's just fantastic.
mm,
And I think that Scott and everybody had laid it out so perfectly at that point that, you know, how could one help not be
mm. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
moved and find that a powerful moment?
Mm. We talked about Mr. Shaw being a teacher. What is something that you yourself learnt through making this series as an actor?
I constantly, or at least I try my best. I do my best to learn as often and remain teachable as
Mm,
possible when I'm doing anything. Uh, and I think in this experience was uh, working with Isla was an experience that it just reinforced my understanding of listening and as an actor
mm,
in the course of just becoming you know a better actor, which I want to be. And so watching her and being, her presence is so strong as a I think she was 11 or 12 at the time. And so it was so unedited, and she was so unself-conscious. And so I was watching that and admiring it and you know just just so practicing the art of listening, which is important, and just that thing of containment that we talked about earlier, and economy
mm.
in storytelling. And that's a constant exploration and learning experience. And I learned a little bit about chess too.
There you go. Um, just to finish off, Bill, quickly, what was sort of special about the Queen's Gambit? Do you think?
The 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 journey that Beth goes on of uh her what she's up against, from the moment she loses her mom, even prior to that, that she's got, this the odds are against her given her circumstances, and that she remains persistent, and she remains also just that, teachable and open-minded, even through her struggles with addiction and the sexism she encounters, and the sort of restrictions and restraints that the world she's in at the time, and all of her failures and all of her mistakes, and yet she never forgets the assets that she has within herself, and she just keeps on striving, and she keeps on striving, uh, and and learns,
Mm,
you know,
yeah,
and really, it's not late in the day. She's quite young. She
yeah,
learns an awful lot and
yeah.
accomplishes an awful lot. Um,
Mm,
but I think it's just that ability of the human spirit being able to overcome adversity
yeah,
and obstacles, even
mm,
when they're within oneself and they're self-made.
yeah.
Um, and uh, and eventually she
Yeah,
grows, she
that's great.
learns, and she succeeds
Yeah, that's great. Well,
with the help of others, and not on herself, on her own.
which
With the help of others,
which I
she
think
enlists help, which is really crucial
Yeah, because she seems like such an independent character, but I think that final episode,
Right.
the final episode really hits that note that there was sort of a village that built like who she
Yeah,
was, and that
absolutely. Totally.
including Mr. Scheibel, who thank God he taught her the Queen's Gambit in the first episode. Thank God he taught her that opening, because that really paid off in dividends when she made it to that Russian final.
Yeah.
Um, Bill, thanks so much for talking with us today. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your award predictions and join the discussion in our forums. And Bill, all the best of luck with the Emmy Awards this year for the Queen's Gambit.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.